Hi viewers. So in the previous lecture we saw the UGC NET teaching aptitude part 2, and in this video we are going to see the teaching aptitude part 3. The part 3 is nothing but a third subtopic of the first unit, that is teaching aptitude. So actually in the teaching aptitude, that is the first unit, we are having the 6 topics. The first topic is the teaching, and the second topic is the learner's characteristics, and third topic is the factors affecting teaching. So in the previous lectures, we saw the teaching concept and the learner's characteristic concept, and in this video we are going to see about the factors affecting the teaching, right? So generally most of the faculty members faced such type of situations, I hope so. So why? Because if we are teaching in the classroom, then how our teaching will be affected with respect to the students behavior, and with respect to the environment, and with respect to our knowledge. Because whatever the subject we selected to teach in particular academic year or the semester, if we are very much confident about that subject, then our delivery of teaching will be awesome, or it will be very good. So like that, different factors are there, the factors which really affects our way of teaching. Okay, so it is a topic that we are going to see right now in this video. So before going into the topic, if you are not subscribed at the channel, so please do subscribe, or else if you already subscribed, please share this channel to your friends or colleagues who are specially preparing for the UGC NET exam, right? Because here all the units of the paper 1 we are going to see very clearly. So already you saw how I explained about the first 2 concepts. The same way of explanation will be continued throughout the entire topics, right? So it will be very much beneficial. And now while coming to the topic, factors affecting the teaching. So what are the factors really affects the way of teaching? So here we are going to see with respect to the different elements. That means factors affecting the teaching related to teacher. That means teaching also depends upon the teacher, isn't it? So if he is a well qualified, if he is a well disciplined, then his way of teaching will be very different and impressive to all the students. And the way of teaching also affected by the learners. That means if we are teaching in a classroom, if the students behavior is not good, then definitely our teaching will be disturbed. So it is also one major impact. And coming to the third affecting parameter is the supporting material. So whatever the materials we are having, just like the prescribed textbooks or the prescribed notes or any some kind of thing. So based why? Because if we are dealing with any one subject without having the textbook reference or without having some notes reference, we cannot able to teach, right? So that's why whatever the material we are taking to teach for one particular subject, definitely that supporting material also affects the teaching, right? So if the material is having the clear-cut definitions and clear-cut concept and clear problems based upon the concepts what we explain, if everything is very clear, then our way of teaching is also very clear, and the students also can able to understand our concept in a very clear way. So that's why this material also affects the way of teaching. And while coming to the fourth one, so the teaching also affected with respect to the methods of teaching and the environment. Methods of teaching means we are having the different teaching methodologies are there. So in which method we are teaching, so that one also affects the teaching process. But because some people uses the blackboard and chalk, so this way of teaching is different. And some people uses the PPTs, that means the PowerPoint presentations. This way of teaching is different. So like that, different. Some people will use the video lectures. So that way of teaching is also different. So if we are using the blackboard and the chalk piece process, we cannot able to explain a diagram oriented concepts clearly, right? So if we are using the PPTs, we can represent any one diagram in the two-dimensional way. But if we are doing the videos, and if you are collecting the videos from the internet or any some kind of resources, then we can explain the diagram oriented concepts in the three-dimensional way and in a very clear way. So that's why, based upon the teaching methodologies, we can able to change our way of teaching and way of understanding levels of the students, right? And environment is also major impact. So environment means, for example, if it is a rural area and if it is urban area and if it is a metropolitan cities, so like that. And whatever the, if your college is located in any one area, the surrounding of this college, right? And the surrounding, nothing but the environment surrounding this college is also very impactful to the way of teaching. For example, if it is a college and it is a classroom, in this college, sorry, in this classroom, if the teacher is teaching or delivering his lecture to the students, in this place, if anyone industry is there, from the industry we are going to get some smokes or some sounds we will get. So based upon that thing, definitely the teacher will get disturbed, and due to the machinery sounds, the students also will get disturbed. That means the environment must be very peaceful, with full of greenery, everything must be there, such that the environment also shows the major impact in the way of teaching, right? And the next one is related to the institution. Related to the institution means, if the institution is provided well equipped laboratories and well equipped classrooms with projectors, boards, that means neat boards, and very good infrastructure is there, then it also affects the way of teaching, right? So like this, these five are the major factors which are going to affect the teaching, right? Now we are going to see all these five topics and the subtopics related to these five topics. We are going to see in detail one by one. So here the first one is the factors affecting the teaching, right? So here the first one is the factors affecting the teaching related to the teacher. So the which factors related to teacher will really affecting the teaching process that we are going to see here. The first one is the subject knowledge. That means how the subject knowledge is there to the teacher. Whatever the teacher or the lecturer took one subject to that semester or the academic year, so how far he or she is having the knowledge on that subject. So that also affects the way of teaching. If the teacher is having a very good knowledge about the subject, then his way of delivering and his way of, the expertise in way of delivering the concepts regarding that subject, so it definitely shows impact on the way of teaching. Second one is the knowledge of learners. So if the learners are well knowledge about their previous year concepts, that means if the candidate is in the 10th class, if he is having the basics or the knowledge about the 9th class mathematics, then only he can able to understand the 10th class mathematics at the time of maths teacher giving the lectures, right? So the previous year knowledge is also very important. So that's why the knowledge of the learners also shows some kind of impact on the way of teaching, right? So if the 10th class student is not having the minimum standards about the 8th class mathematics, then he cannot able to understand in what way the teacher will deliver. Okay, that means however the teacher will deliver the lecture, he cannot able to understand. Why? Because he don't have the previous year's knowledge. So it is a problem. And next one, the teaching skills. So apart from the subject knowledge, the teacher must have also have the teaching skills. So why I kept this one, because here I saw some faculty members and the lecturers, they are very sound in knowledge, they are very good in that particular subject or the concept, but they will lag in way of delivering that concept, right? So while coming to our teaching process, how much content and how much subject you are having is not the matter. Whatever the subject you are having and how you are delivering to the students, that is the matter, right? In which way you are delivering to the students, that is matter. If you are delivering that one in a very good way, then it is nothing but a teaching skills, right? So next one is a friendliness and approachability. That means teacher must be friendly. I will not say very friendly, I just say that friendly. Teacher must be friendly and approachable to the students. So why? Because if the teacher is too stringent and arrogant and serious, then whatever the doubts are getting to the students, they cannot able to come across the teachers. So if the student cannot able to come to the teacher to clear his doubts, then his knowledge will stop. Okay, that is the main thing. If any one student has to grown up in the knowledge with respect to the knowledge, then whatever the doubts he is getting, all the doubts has to be cleared, and the doubts has to be cleared from the teacher only. So if the teacher is very stringent and serious, then this student cannot able to approach to this teacher. Why? Because the student will afraid about asking the doubts. Whenever he or she, that means whenever the student afraid to ask the doubt to the teachers, then his knowledge will be stopped, right? So that is a major problem. But we should not, that means the teacher should not give the too much lenience and too much friendliness. It will be give some other drawbacks, right? So the personality and the behavior, how the teacher personality is and how the teacher's behavior is, right? Because for everything there must be some limitation between the teacher and student. So the personality of the teacher must be like a role model to all his students, and his behavior also must be like a role model to all his or her students. So like that, the teacher has to maintain his personality and the teacher has to maintain his behavior with respect to colleagues or with respect to his or her students. And next one is the level of adjustment and the mental health of the teacher. That means adjustment, that means the teacher has to adjust for a few situations, okay, and the mental health of the teacher must be very good and calm, because if the teacher is too much disturbed in the previous day night or the previous day situations, then automatically it affects to the next day teaching process, okay. That means the teacher cannot able to deliver perfectly if his mental health is not good, and it disturbs the behavior and it disturbs the personality of the teacher also, right? So if both these two are disturbed, then the friendliness and approachability will not maintain, and the teaching skills also will not be maintained. And how much knowledge you are having, it's not the thing, but the way of delivering is the main thing. That means the teaching skills will be damaged. So the mental health of the teacher is very most important and plays a very good role to all these concepts, right? And the teacher must be very discipline with to the students. Discipline should not be punishable to the students. The discipline with respect to the students must be in a positive way, right? So these are all the factors affecting the teaching related to the teachers. But anyhow, in this PPT, I gave few definitions. I mean, a few words to each and everything for your reference purpose. So coming to this subject knowledge, there is a saying that a teacher is only as good as what they know. So if the teacher lacks knowledge in a subject, then the understanding level of the students will be gone away. So a teacher who knows his subject very well, then only he play a key role in leading the journey of the teaching learning process. And while coming to the next one, that is knowledge of learners. So it includes that how a student can able to understand at the development level and how learning in a specific subject area typically progresses. That means the student must have the knowledge about the previous year concepts, what I told right now. So as a teacher, we have to understand what is the understanding level of the students, whether he is understanding with the way of our teaching or not. So if he is not able to understand with the way of teaching due to the lack of the previous year experiences or due to the lack of previous year learning process, then we have to try to coop up or the compensate whatever the concept he lacked in the previous years. So that's why the knowledge of learning is a broad category that incorporates the knowledge of the cognitive, social, and emotional development of the learners. And next one is the teaching skills. So as I already told that a teacher may know his subject well, but for sharing, communicating, and interacting with various experiences related to the learning of the subject, so he needs specific teaching skills, right? So whatever the subject as a teacher know, but the subject has to be delivered, the way of sharing or the way of communicating or the way of interacting with the students, it must be very specific, and all these things we have to do with respect to different types of teaching skills. So the proficiency and the deficiency processed by a teacher in this regard are quite responsible for turning the teacher learning process a big success or failure. Because if a teacher is very good in knowledge, but he has the skill to deliver that knowledge to the students, then he will be the very good success. So if the student is if the faculty or the teacher is very poor in delivering his knowledge to the students, then he will be the failure in the teaching and learning process. And next one is the friendliness and approachability. That means the teacher must be friendly, and the approachability, that means the students, if the students are having any doubts, then he must approach to the teacher. Okay, that much of approachability must be there. So the best teacher are always most open and welcoming and easy to approach, and a good teacher possesses good listening skills. That means whatever the student is telling, first a teacher has to listen carefully, completely, and take time out of their busy schedule to solve all kinds of problems of the students, right? Such that the students can able to develop in the all-rounder way. And next one is the personality and the behavior. So a teacher must act like a leader, and he must be like a leading role or a role model to all his or her students. So a teacher as a leader has to lead his students in the teaching learning process through the magnetic influence and the incredible impression left on the minds of the students on the basis of the teacher's personality traits and the behavior, right? So our personality and the behavior will dominate most, and it shows most impact on the students. So if we well dressed and if we well behaved, then automatically our students will be impressed and they will try to focus on our teaching if our teaching skills are also very good. Next, level of adjustment and mental health of the teacher. So how adjusted a teacher feel in his personal life or in his professional life, and the state of the mental health or the level of the mental health must be maintained in a balanced way. It should not be down, it should not be excited. It must be in a balanced way. Then only we can able to influence the students with our magnificent behavior, right? And next one is the discipline. So as I already told that we must maintain or we have to learn discipline to the students, but it should not just like punishing the students, right? So a great teacher must always have the effective discipline skills. Apart from the teaching skills, we must also have the discipline skills also. Why? Because the students have to learn the discipline first. The discipline is first, then only the learning is the next. So first of all, the teaching must have the proper discipline skills, then only our students will be in the discipline, and then whatever we are teaching with our skills, teaching skills, then the student starts listening and learning in proper way. And it brings the positive behavior and changes in the classroom. If the changes in the classroom are there and if all the students are maintained in a disciplined way, then we can able to deliver our lecture in a very efficient, more than our expectation. So without discipline, learning cannot be accomplished, right? So these are all the factors affecting the teaching related to the teachers. And the next second concept is the factors affecting teaching related to the learner. So a learner must be enough mature and enough age and motivated, and previous learning or the previous year learning must be there, or the previous year's knowledge must be there. As I already told that if the student is learning the 10th class mathematics, he must have the basics regarding the 9th class mathematics, then only he can able to understand. And next one is the intelligence, and his mental health must be very good. Sometimes physical handicaps and dysfunctioning also affects the learners at the time of teaching. For example, if handicaps are there, that means some physical handicaps are there, some problems might be there. They can't able to sit, they can't able to concentrate for a long time, some kind of difficulties must be there, so it also affects the teaching. And diet and nutrition, what the students are taking, attention and the interest paying by the students at the time of teaching, and goal setting and level of the aspiration. So all these are the learner side, that means the student side, which affects the teaching. Now we will see all these things one by one with some definitions. And coming to the first one, that is the maturation. As you already understand with respect to this word, the students must be enough mature to understand what we are teaching and what we are expecting the student to understand, right? So maturation is a process of development of a bodily systems and coordination in the functioning of the bodily organs and the system. So it is a physical readiness of the individual for learning Maturation governs not only the certain specific motor behavior such as walking, talking, etc. It also plays an essential role in acquiring other skills such as reading and writing. So this readiness or potentially within the individual determines what to learn and how to learn, right? So why? Because if you see the kids, the maturity levels of the kids are different with respect to the adults, right? Or and in between the kids and adults, adolescent candidates will also be there. That means the middle-aged candidates. So kids are having the less maturity. So if you are teaching the degree subjects to the kids, they cannot able to understand. Why? Because it's not their problem. Whatever the teaching skills you are using to make the kid understand, so he cannot able to understand. Why? Because the maturity level of the kid is different. And if you are teaching the degree level subjects to the adolescent candidates, of course, I can't say, I can't say 100%. So based upon your stamina and based upon your energy, they may understand up to 60%, but they cannot able to apply after understanding or learning. But if you are teaching the degree subjects to the adults, they can able to understand very effectively due to the previous knowledge or the maturation, whatever it is, right? So that is the exact way of maturation. Maturation is not just like walking and talking and eating and all these things. So maturation of the candidates must be there such that he must have the enough mature to acquire the skills such as reading, learning, and what to learn, what to read, and how to learn. All these things the student must have. So it's based upon some kind of maturation levels only, fine. And here age. So coming to the age, just now what are the factors I told to the maturation? Of course, this concept is also applicable to the age. Why? Because maturation depends upon the age. But sometimes some physically handicapped or mentally retarded candidates, if the age is grown, but maturation will be in poor level. That is different case, right? So coming to the age, mental abilities and potentialities develops actually with respect to the age only. So for example, as we know that the learning efficiency increases with respect to the age up to certain level, and after that it tends to decrease, right? That means if I draw the graph between the age and the learning efficiency, okay, let's take the age on the x-axis and learning efficiency on the y-axis. Then if the age is increasing, our learning efficiency also increases, but after that, after certain age, it starts decreases, right? That means after up to certain age only we can learn. Our learning efficiency are very good and excellent, but after crossing certain age, we cannot able to learn that much of efficient as we did in this age. So that is a problem. Anyhow, the grown-up children have very great potential to learn than the very young children's, right? So let's take it as a grown-up and let's take it as a young children. So grown-up children have the very good efficiency to learn and remember and recall comparing with the young children's. And if you see the candidates at this age, the position and the learning efficiency of these candidates will almost decreases or reduces. And at the final age, we can compare the learning efficiency almost equal to the young children's, right? So why? Because in the universe, anything must follow the Gaussian curve only. Gaussian curve means anything in the universe, it increases gradually and after a certain point gradually it reduces, right? So coming to the potentiality and the energy levels of the human beings also, from the childhood to the adult it increases, and from certain age, from adult to from adult or middle age to the old age, it gradually decreases, right? And after the age, the next parameter is the motivation. That means motivation of the learners. If the learners are highly motivated, then automatically the way of learning also will be the different, and it won't affect the teaching. So the motivation is the core of learning. The mostly three ways are there. Due to this motivation, the behavior of the student will change. If the behavior of the student is changed, then he can able to listen to the faculty, whatever the faculty or the teacher is teaching in the classroom. And the motivation is necessary for the reinforcement. That means if the student is in failure or in the down path, then this motivation leads him to the success path. So reinforcement or the re-energizing is very much important to the student, not only to the student, so to everybody it is very important. And coming to this one, it increases the variability of the behavior, and we can able to raise the probability of occurrence of the correct responses. So motivation plays a very crucial role in all the stages. That means not only in the student stage, so to the employees or to the adults or in old age. So for all these people, the motivation is very much important to look forward, right? And next one is the previous learning. So as I told that previous year learning must be very good. So the rate of learning is partially determined by the learner's previous learning experience, but I don't feel it's partially, it's completely depends with similar or somewhat similar material, right? So next coming to the intelligence, that means we can say it's the IQ level. Yeah, the IQ level of the candidates. So depends. I mean, you as a teacher, you may observe that some students will understand the one time, and some students require the two times explanation, and some students require the three times explanation. So that means it depends upon the IQ levels of the students, right? So that is nothing but an intelligence. And coming to the mental health, so the good mental health in terms of absence of anxiety, conflict, worry, and frustration. So if the student is not having all these parameters, then only he can able to understand, and very good teaching methodology will be developed due to the very good mental health of the student. And coming to the physically handicaps and dysfunctioning, so malformation and malfunctioning of the physical organs or some systems cause great objections in children's proper learning. Okay, so or else it just acts like a barriers. So for example, defects in vision or hearing or other diseases such as paralysis and cardiac problems, it definitely affects the learning also. Okay, that means the teacher has to put more effort, and the teacher's teaching methodology must also be different for such type of people. So diet and nutrition, very good diet and very good nutrition must be there for the good physical health, and of course for sometimes mental health also. Attention and interest, so both these two are interrelated. If the subject or the concept is interest, then the student will pay attention. Okay, so both these two are interrelated to each other as a part of the motivation, and the interest actually originates attention, and the attention creates the interest. So both these two are interrelated. So if a student pays the attention to the class, then he will get gradually interest on that concept. If the student has interest on the concept, then he will pay attention on the subject or the concept, right? So that's why both these two are interrelated with each other. Next one is the goal setting and level of aspiration. So goal setting and level of aspiration, both these two are just like the psychodynamics of the behavior. Okay? That means the student must be having some goal must be there. So depending upon that goal, he tries to achieve something, and he pays attention at the time of teaching and all these things. So that's why as a teacher, we have to always maintain the students in a goal-oriented way. Fine. So next one is the third topic is a support material. That means how the teaching will be affected with respect to the support material. So generally, educationists and the psychologists frame the syllabus according to the physical and mental development of the children and based upon the age actually, right? So why? Because the 10th class syllabus we cannot able to put in the first class. Why? Because their age and maturity is different, and 10th class students age and maturity is different. So educationists generally frame the syllabus based upon the age of the children's, so indirectly mental ability of the children's. So here the important material related factors influencing the learning, just like difficulty of task, length of task, meaningfulness, similarity, organization, and relationship with the life. That means whatever the syllabus is framed, or whatever the material we are following to teach to the students, so how difficulty the material is, that means sometimes we cannot able to understand few textbooks on the same concept. For example, if on the same concept, if the two textbooks are there, one textbook is understandable and another textbook is not understandable. So that's why the difficulty level of the task, how we have to put, and the lengthiness. Okay, so on one concept, how much lengthy it is and how much meaningful it is, and the similarity of the task. That means if we are studying, if a student is studying maths the 10th class, then he compares that maths with respect to the 9th class. That means some similarity has to be maintained. We should not put the engineering mathematics to the 10th class students. He can't able to maintain the similarity with the previous knowledge. and organization and relationship with the life. So whatever is there in the material, whether it is applicable to the real life or not. So all these factors are influencing. So these are all the supporting materials which are affecting the teaching. So we will see one by one here. Difficulty of the task is nothing but whatever the material we are learning, the material must be appropriate difficulty, right? So appropriate difficulty means whatever the syllabus is framed or whatever the material we are learning to the particular class or the degree or whatever it is, so it must be appropriate difficulty. That means if the difficulty level of the syllabus is very less, then what happens is that it is a very easy task to the challenging children's, right? That means few children's will be there, they are very sharp. So if you frame the very less or very poor difficulty level of a syllabus, then the challenge children's or the very sharp children's will feel that it will be very easy. Okay, or else while coming to the, if you set the difficulty of the syllabus is very high, then what happens is that it is very difficult task to the slow children's. Slow children's means slow learning children's. So that's why the moderate difficulty must be maintained. That means if the difficulty level of the material is too less, then the very sharp children's will feel boring. And if the difficulty level is very high, then the slow learners will be definitely affected and the failure rate will be high. So to balance the slow learning children's and the fast learning children's, we have to maintain the moderate or the appropriate difficulty level of the subject material. Fine. And next one is the length of the task. A lengthy material generally poses a big problem to the young learners. Why? Because generally, if you once go back to your childhood days or in the 10th class like that, if the concept is too lengthy, if one concept is up to 10 pages, then definitely we will skip that one. If the concept is only one page or one para, then definitely we will study that one. So here, the lengthiness of the material also some kind of problematic to the young learners. So the longer a material, it becomes too difficult to learn. So the difficulty task should be also presented in the small parts. That means if any one concept is having the 10 pages, then divide this concept into 10 sub-concepts and put each and every sub-concept from this 10 as a single page. So if one sub-concept is in a single page, then the student will show interest on that one. Okay? So even though if the difficulty tasks are there, divide that one into the small parts such that the student psychology will be very appreciable, because the engaged learners will focus on the small concepts or the small length matters. I hope you understood. And the meaningfulness of the task. So whatever the learning outcomes are there associated, it must be the meaningful of the learning material, right? So that means we should not deviate the concepts. That means, for example, if you're taking the young age children's, whatever the concept is there, we should not tell them the application oriented concepts. That means to the young age children's, we have to simply say that C is nothing but a car, it is having the 4 wheels. So like that we can say. But to the younger children, we should not say how the car is working and what is the hydraulic mechanism of the braking system, what is the automatic controlling, what is the microprocessor, microcontrollers we are using in these cars. Such type of things will be definitely meaningless to those children, right? So definitely whatever the material we are preparing or whatever the syllabus we are preparing to particular grade or to particular class students, it must be meaningfulness to them, right? And next one is similarity of the task. So similarity of the task means whatever, I mean, of course, I am explaining this example from the starting itself, so don't get bored. So if the student is in the 10th class and we have to maintain the syllabus of the maths somewhat similarity to the 9th class. If this similarity is not maintained, then definitely the student will be gone away. Okay, so that is the meaning of the similarity of the task. And organization. So the organization of the learning material should be very simple to difficult. That means from concrete to abstract. and from direct to indirect keeping in view of the physical and mental development of the learners. So otherwise, if such type of organization is not maintained in the material, that means generally if you see some subjects, first we have to give the basic keywords of that subject. After the basic keywords, what are the basic definitions required? After the definitions, what are the basic formulas required to understand? So after completion of this one, then you go to the first unit, second unit, third unit. Definitely the second unit must be the basics, the first unit is the basic of the second unit, and second unit must be basic of the third unit, and third unit must be basic of the fourth unit. So you have to organize your material like this. That means from concrete to abstract, right? From direct to indirect, then only it will be the very understandable way to the students. If you are not maintained your material like this, then it is a part of the teachers. The teachers has to put much efforts to make the students understand, and the teachers energy also will be wasted, right? So nowadays the teachers energy is wasting by the lot of factors, not only the teaching. So we have to maintain the material in the proper organized way. And explains the relationship with the life. Whatever the things we are learning, whatever the things students are learning, it must be applicable to the real life, right? So then only it will be the meaningful to the students. So it increases the effectiveness of understanding levels of the students, right? So next topic is the methods of teaching and environment. That means how the teaching is affected by the teaching and environment. So here distribution of the practice, that means if the 10 number of students are there, so here to this 10 number of students, we have to distribute the few practice questions to them. So due to this practice questions, of course, some students will practice well and some students will not practice well. It depends upon their mental abilities and the IQ levels. Anyhow, the learning depends upon the rate at which the individual practices with the task. That means if we practice more, whatever the work it might be, if we practice more, we will be the perfect in that one, right? So in that way, we have to distribute the practice to the students. So we have to identify in which part the student is weak. So in which part, so that means in which concept or in which topic the student is weak. So try to give some practicing questions on that concept such that the student will be efficient or the proficient in that one. And next one is the whole or part learning. So in this one, actually here the thing is, some students will learn the whole subject or the whole concept at a time. Some students will learn the whole concept in the different parts, right? So it is a different thing. So for example, if any one concept is there up to the 2 pages, some student will learn both these 2 pages at a time and then start revising. And some students will divide it to the 2 parts. It is the first part and it is the second part. So this first they will learn this first part only. They will not go to the second part. So like that, it depends upon the learning of the student ability. That means whole means reading the entire concept at a time. Part learning means dividing the entire concept into the different parts. Okay, and it depends upon the age of the learner, difficulty level of the task, length of the learning material, and the mental ability of the learner. That means whole learning or part learning, it depends upon these 4 factors, right? So if the age of the learner, if the age is high, then they may read at a time. Difficulty level of the task, if this difficulty is very less, then they can read at a time. And length of the learning material, if the length of the learning material is small, then we can read at a time. If the mental ability of the learner is very high, then we can read at a time. So it is the factors depends. And recitation, so I will say simply, recitation is nothing but learning, understanding, and recalling in a loudly way, right? So generally if you observe in the school age students or the kids in the LKG or UKG, the teachers will start them learning in a loud way. A for apple, B for ball. Why? Because at the time the learning and the recalling happens in the loudly way only. So it is the recitation method is the superior of all the other methods in many situations. So if you observe in your childhood also, we learned all the basic things just like the alphabets and the numbers in the loudly way. Okay, so what it happens is that it arouses the active participation of the learner and it gives instant feedback. That means the teacher can able to understand if the learner, the student is recalling in a loudly way, we can give the instant feedback to them and we can do the immediate corrections if any error says that. That means if the student is learning 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, after if he says the 5, then we can correct immediately that after 3, 4 will come like that. So these are all the different things, recitation and the knowledge of the result. So knowledge of the result means the learner goes on improving his performance. That means whatever the result he got from the first test, with that result he will learn something and he will prepare more for the second test, and we will give the result, and with respect to this result he will put effort more on the third test. So like that, knowledge of the result must be there to get the responses in the progress continuously. Learning by doing is nothing but whatever we are learning, that learning has to be do with respect to the doing. That means if you are learning anything with doing, then it will be keep in your mind for a long way, right? And suitability of method. That means the teacher has to identify which teaching methodology has to implement. It depends upon the learner's knowledge, or that depends upon the learner's mental ability or the age. So here the methodology is just like the discussion method, demonstration method, lecture method, project method, heuristic method, programmed learning method, pathway method, storytelling method, fieldwork method, excursion and trips method. So like that, different teaching methodologies are there, and the teacher has to select any one of this method based upon the mental ability of the students and environment of the students. And teacher and environments related factors. So physical, social, classroom culture and curriculum timetable and fatigue, and the rest is very important. So all these factors are very important for the environmental and the teacher related factors. And finally, the last concept is factors affecting the teaching related to institution. Student ratio, faculty. Okay, so if the students are very less, then the teacher cannot able to deliver the concept very well. Okay, yeah, so if a teacher enters into the classroom, if only one student is there, then he will feel very bored. He can't able to deliver what exactly he prepared. So that's why I am telling you to subscribe my channel and watch my videos. Why? Because if I want to do the next video, if the views are high, then I will feel that okay, more students are listening to my lectures. Okay, then only I will get the interest. It's a psychological thing of the lecturers. So quality of the teacher and their commitments, infrastructure, adopted teaching methodologies, and how the management and how good the management is to the teachers and to the students, institutional achievements, stability, environment, and physical and material resources. So all these 8 number of factors will definitely affect the way of teaching, and all these things are completely depends upon the college or the institution that is maintaining. Okay, it has to maintain the proper student teacher ratio, quality of the teacher must be very high, and the infrastructure also must be very good. The lab equipments, boards, and all these things, the tables must be very good. So adopted teaching methodologies are also very in a proper way, and these teaching methodologies must be varies, depends upon the learners or the students. Management must be very good to the faculty with respect to the salaries also. Institutional achievements must be there. So surrounding environment, stability, and the physical and material resources. So these are all the different topics what we discussed in this one. So totally the 5 different types of factors are affecting the teaching, that is teacher, learner, support material, methods of teaching and environment, and related to the institution, right? So in the next video we are going to see the methods of teaching. Okay, so what are the different methods of teaching are there to attract the students to our teaching, and how to make the challenging students to understand our concepts, whatever we are teaching in the classroom, all these things, right? So please don't forget to subscribe and share this channel. I hope these videos are very much helpful to you, and if any modifications are required, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you.